Hi, my name is Dan Shadinsky, the curator of the Mazza Museum, and we are here today to talk about venom and snakes. And I have three very special guests. I will let our guest, the first man of Findlay, Roger Fell, introduce his pet snakes to us this morning. So could you tell us a little bit about who we're holding here?
Okay. This one that I've got, name is Murphy. I think it's a female. I know one of them is because every once in a while they lay eggs. But both of these snakes belong to my son. He got them when he was in middle school, and he's now about to turn 32.
Okay.
So I've had him a long time. He had them for several years, and then he graduated from high school and went to college, and then he came home for a while, then he went away to another job. And ended up leaving the snakes like for a summer in the house all alone. And when I got there, they hadn't been fed or watered for a long time, but they were still perfectly, healthy. And so I brought them up here. That's how they got to be in Findlay. I thought, well, somebody's got to take care of these snakes. So they've been living in our garage for the last, 7 or 8 years probably. But they must be, this one's name's Murphy, that one's Pacino. That one, my son got a couple of years after this one. So this one is a little older, but not much. They're both pretty old. They've both been around for, almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Roger, can you tell us what type of snakes these are?
These are corn snakes. Corn snakes are nice little pet snakes. They're pretty harmless. They have bitten me once or twice at the most in 20 years. If you surprise them, they haven't bitten me in years, really. Just one time, but they don't actually have teeth. They just have rigid jaws, and it did scratch. It can scratch you, but they don't. Normally, I can just pick them right up, and they're pretty tame. This one is active, I think, because she's hungry. This one ate yesterday, so he's nice and happy.
That's why you're handling her.
This one is hungry, so she's looking for food.
So Roger, since our theme is venom, these, if they've bitten you, these are obviously non-venomous snakes, correct?
They're not.
Okay.
When we lived in Louisiana, we had a hog pen out in the woods, and there were water moccasins everywhere because it was kind of in the swamp, and there were what's the other one? Copperheads.
Yeah.
Copperheads everywhere, and but nobody ever got bit. But they are poisonous. There are a lot of poisonous snakes in Louisiana. But these are harmless. They're just fun to play with.
And actually, corn snakes are from this area. So they're an indigenous species in Ohio. The two that we have here are not the traditional coloring, although this is very close. But these are called amelanistic corn snakes. So that means that they have less melanin, less pigment, which makes them appear as what they call in the pet trade a morph. So these are two different morphs of the common corn snake.
This one is about to shed. He's looking kind of dusty.
Yeah, and you can see that with the eyes. If we can get a shot of the eyes, when the eyes start to look a little bit milky, that's actually the scale, the skin loosening up over top of the snake, and the snake will shed its entire skin. And Roger, why do they shed their skin?
They just outgrow it.
Exactly.
So I'm waiting for her to shed before I feed her, but.
She might be ready now.
They only have to be fed like 2 or 3 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
When I got them, I was feeding them once a week, but they really don't need, and they have gone winters without eating, like the entire winter.
Wow.
I'll try to feed them and they just won't eat, and I'm start getting worried about them, and then they decide to eat when it gets warm.
Have they ever gotten loose?
One time in the garage, one of them got out because I just left it open, left the aquarium open, but I noticed it right away, and she's just crawling around the garage. And so, no, they're supposed to be serious escape artists, but I've got a pretty safe place to keep them. The aquarium that I keep them in has a locked net screen over it. And so, no, they've never gotten out. I feed them in a garbage can. So I put them in the garbage can. Well, I put the mice in first, and then I put them in the garbage can. I cover it up, and I just leave them in there, for maybe sometimes overnight. I left him yesterday overnight. And usually when I open it up, the mice are gone, and they're sitting there with a bulging tummy.
Do you feed them live or frozen?
I did feed them live mice until the last few years, I believe. I'm not sure about this, but I was told at the pet store that Ohio no longer allows feeding live mice to snakes. I can't buy them. That's what they don't allow selling feeder mice anymore. That's what I was told.
Okay.
And I haven't fed them live mice in a long time. We feed them frozen, thaw them out. It was fun when we had live mice because the neighborhood kids loved to come over and watch me feed them. But now they just eat frozen ones.
So what does your wife, President Fell, think about
She
snakes?
doesn't like them at all.
Okay.
She has nothing to do with them.
And you said you keep them in the garage,
In the garage, yeah.
in a tank.
Hardly ever. They just stay in there. They're very easy to take care of. You have to clean out the aquarium not very often, and change the bedding, and make sure they've got water, and feed them 2 or 3 times a month, and that's it.
All right, well, thank you, Roger, for taking the time to introduce us to your pet snakes today, and we hope you learned something about the snakes from our area.